So we're going to get started. What we're going to be doing right now is we need to add the currency ticker and then add the wagering for each one of the songs. So you can either upvote them or downvote them. And we need to, when we get all, and then we also need to include a skip song. When we complete that, we're going to add in the roles. We're going to take in the roles section for users, because right now in a room, you're only either an owner or a user, and we need to have additional roles in there. My question is, do you ever take a break from programming? I do, but I just switch to different kinds of programming. So I go to game dev, I go to web dev, I go to mobile dev, and just kind of jump around to keep it interesting. So here, this is my songs queued. It needs to be my room ID. So this is a application user room.room ID. And then we're going to receive my songs queued right here and pass in songs queued. So that's our back end for the wager completed. Now on our front end, if I look at the room component, I'm going to have a quantity here for the wager. And if I look at my HTML on this, we're getting it for the search result quantity wagered. So what that means is, when I look at my queue in shared queue, this needs to also have a quantity wagered, the add song. We have the song name, the song length, the quantity wagered, add or remove boost on that for a song queued. And then remove here. So that looks okay. So if I look at the front end again, and we'll log out and log in. This time I'm going to search for something. We can do like a Miley Cyrus party in the USA. And this time, it's going to let me wager here. So one of the things I needed to add on here was to support multiple currency. And so here, if I wanted to wager like 100 on Miley, then we can create my song queued. And it did there. And here's where I can assign my boost. So I need to do time not present when a song is queued. So now when I look at my add or remove boost, add quantity to song queued, it's right here. And this one I want to do a this.roomService.wager. And if I look at my services for room service, I want to add in here one called wager quantity song queued, like that. And what this is going to pass in is one of these requests. Which is a request called a I wager quantity song queued request. And we need to add that in here to my interfaces. Like that. And in this, it's going to have a song queued ID, which is a string. Why don't we pass the whole thing? song queued, which is an I song queued, a application user room, which is an I application user room, a currency, which is a currency, and a quantity, which is a number. When I look back in here, we're going to do this as a song DTO, which is a song queued DTO called song queued. This one's going to be an application user DTO. This one is a currency DTO. Okay. Now, if I look here at my wager, this one, I want to get my currency, my application room, and my song ID. Like that. Now this is wrong. Application user room currency needs to be this one. Okay, that's for the wager. So back in here, we're going to do if my this not hub connection, then we do a hub connection and we invoke my wager quantity song queued, passing in my request. So here we need to do a let request, which is a I wager song whatever equals one of these. And in this we have a song queued. So we have a song queued is a song queued. We have a application user room, which is a this.room service dot application user room. We have a currency, which is a this dot room service dot currency. And you have this as an application user room currency. Like that. And then the quantity, which is your quantity, like that. And that should do it. Okay, we'll run it again. Log out, log in, we sign in. I'll do a Hell's Bells here. I'll request the song. I'm going to wager 50 and I'll add the song to the queue. Now it doesn't actually say how much it currently is rated here, so I'll add 60 here, which should be firing in the back end and it didn't, so let me try that again. One thing I wanted to add here is on my queue HTML, I want to have another one of these for my quantity wagered. And this one's going to be of the it's from your application user room currency. So you want to have a currency is a I currency, which is equal to this dot room service dot application user room currency dot currency. And then this is going to be your currency dot currency name. So we'll log in. It says can't read property of currency of undefined. So if I look at my room here, when we receive my room information, like that, the only thing I want to put here is that this dot currency is equal to this dot room information dot currencies of the first one dot currency. We'll log out. We'll try it again. Wrong app here. I wanted this one. So when you make a service in Angular, is the whole purpose of the service to be responsible for talking to, let's say, an external API or database? I'm assuming it's for separation of data in the view. That's correct. And when you make a service, most of the time that they're singleton, so that you can use it as sort of like your layer in between all of your different components. It's more of something that retrieves data or manipulates data or does work. Can't read property currency of undefined. So we'll just do this. We'll get rid of this. We'll get rid of the room subscription. Log out, log back in. It's connected. We're going to search here for Hell's Bells by AC/DC. We'll request it with 50 pixels. On the back end, it'll fire my create song queued. Create song queued, good. I can see my current boost on it is not here. So we'll just have this and then one more header. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I don't see it down here under queued song still. right here, if I do an alert dot of my this dot song queued dot quantity wagered, oh, that's of songs queued of the first one dot weighted value. Interesting. So in queue component now, said cannot read weighted property of undefined. So I want to say if this dot songs queued dot length is greater than 0. Which means that this needs to be a weighted value. Hey there, Elemento. Welcome back. How are you doing? It's good to have you with us. So we'll add in here a Self-Care by Mac Miller for 5. And we'll wager it. I'll create it. It passed it, and now it's visible over here. So let's fix the multiple currencies issue. The first one is here. We're receiving each one of these currencies as just one, so I want to do this as a multiple. Like that. Which breaks a few things on Room Hub service. That's looking fine. On your queue component, right here, it doesn't know which currency that I want. So when I'm looking here and I'm wagering my weighted value here, the quantity wagered, and then here we need to have another one which is going to be for a currencies. And it's called a application user room currencies, which is a I currency array is equal to a this dot room service dot application user currencies. I application user room currency. So now when I look at my queue component, what I need to do is I need to look up here in Angular. Hey man, chillin', how are you? I'm doing great, making some good progress this morning. We need to look up here a drop-down box Angular CLI. So it's right here. We want to do this as a TD, and I'm going to say a select And what this is going to select is a option ng4 let application user room currency of application user rooms currencies, like that. And we'll say value is equal to my application user room currency dot ID. And then I'm going to pass in here my application user room currency dot name. What language is this? This is TypeScript. And so now when we're creating my song queued here, and I'm passing in this add quantity, I also want to have a I currency, so a application user room currency, which is an I application user room currency. Like that. And we're going to change this to be a application user room currency, like a I application user room currency. Okay. And then in the back end, I need to change that to be a application user room currency DTO, called a application user room currency. Need to learn Python. Oh, I'm trying to learn Python. Python's not too bad. I've used it a little bit, not tons, but enough. I like it. It's a high-level language. You can get a lot of stuff done in it. There's a lot of libraries for it. Just a second, please. Back with you. Okay, we got a few errors here on the back end, which I need to clean up. I was expecting that. So this is the first one. So I don't care about this currency anymore. Request.application user room currency.id, and it's active. And I want to include here my currency. And this one is going to be this one dot currency dot weight. And that should do it. I'm going to go for pen testing, so people recommendation. Well, I'm going to go for pen testing. I don't know what that is. So people recommendation Python for learning for people. So people recommended Python for learning. I'm going for pen testing. What is pen testing? Okay, we're good to go. We'll give it a run again. And if I look at this, it's saying that it can't find. Well, let's see if it builds. So we'll log out. We'll log in. Here I want to do a search here for a new song, which we'll call Hello World. One thing I wanted to remove on Q no, it's where you're searching in a room. You're passing the full search result here. That's good. Is that this now doesn't know what that currency is. So if I look at room component, we have currency here. Let me first get rid of this one, and I'm going to change this to be quantity initially wagered. And then on the TS, we can change it to be no, we can actually remove this one. Okay. And then I can remove this line. And I can remove my YouTube service. And now on this, we want to have a application user rooms currencies, which is a I application user room, maybe a more known name, ethical hacking. Oh, I know what that is. We call that white hat hacking. It's where you're trying to find things out for product owners. Currency as an array. And I'm going to say that this is equal to this dot room hub service dot application users rooms currencies. So in my room HTML, when we're adding a song to a queue, I also want here to have the drop-down box. So somewhere in here I already did an options in the queue component. So I'll do the same thing here in the room component. Like that. And then this one is a click event for my application user room currency. Now I don't know if that's going to necessarily work. And this one's going to be a application user room currency, which is an I application user room currency. And in your song queued request, we're going to pass in here a application user room and an application user room currency ID. like that. It says it doesn't have an ID on it. So now in your create song request, this needs to be a application user room currency ID. What plugins do I use? I don't really use any. Just what is supplied with Angular CLI. This needs to be a read application user room currency asynchronous. Your application user room currency ID. Like that. And we're going to read the song, create the song, pass in the other values here, and then if not, we'll return null. And that looks right. So what it is on my, in here, in the HTML, when we're doing my select, we want to do a ng model here for my and I want to do a application user room currency ID selected, which is a string. And then this one here is my application user room ID selected, which needs to be a ID, which is a string, which is a, here I want to do a var selected currency is equal to my this dot room service dot application users room currencies dot Now I'm wondering, how do I do this? I want to, in TypeScript, I want to search array for something. And now, hey there, Andrew Yua. How are you doing? Welcome to the channel. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to put them into the chat. We've got an active and supportive community. Thank you for being a part. Make sure you guys join in at discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com. Hey there, he codes too much. How goes it today? It goes great. How are you doing? So we can do this dot room dot currencies dot filter my x, where my x dot ID is equal to my application user room currency ID. And we want to get the first one here. And now I want to say, if this does not equal to undefined and this does not equal to null, then we can do the rest of this. I'm good, thank you. Okay, let's see if that is working with the drop-down box now. So we'll log out, we'll log in. When I search for Miley here, we get a drop-down box, but it looks like it's got some little bit of a bug with the formatting here. So if I look back at the first, when I look at the back end underneath my room hub, you have a get room information right here. Which goes and plays this for all of my connections. And I want to make sure that what I'm returning here is a play from server response. That's fine. One of these, I'm getting a room view model or something like that, right? Receive room information right here. Good. I'm passing both currencies, and that looks right. Holy moly number of C# DLLs. Why though? That's just how I separate my project for N-tier development, and then I can make any front end that I need to at any point. So now I can run it. And when I look at the front end, it says that I don't need this one here. Let application user room currency of application users rooms currencies, which is here. So on my room component, I can steal this room receive subscription. And we'll add in a room received subscription. And then I'll get rid of it down here. And this is called room service. And we're going to say that it's this dot application users room currencies equals dot room currencies. Okay, we'll try it out. We log out. We log in. It loads. We do a Miley again here and request. Now it's working, except for that it's not showing me my dropdown. So if I look at this, I want to do a alert check log, and I want to do a console.log of my room information. Here it is. And under currencies, we have one. In the room, and my quantity. Okay. So it's still not working right in the queue component here. No, it's in your search, which is under room. We need to have this as a application user ID selected. Application user room currency.id. That's fascinating. Because I'm looking at this right here. This dot application users rooms currencies is equal to room information dot application users rooms currencies. Morning, says Deadline. It's been some time. Good old JavaScript programming. That's been my life as of late. I'm working in some TypeScript. How are you doing today, Peter? It's good to have you with us. Not quite. Still nothing. Let me look for another one here. Drop down box Angular CLI example. So here we could just say that the value is the whole currency. That looks fine. So we'll just do this. And then this one needs to be a application user room currency. Yeah. Let's go back here. We'll try it again as a test. Still not giving me anything. Console.log my this.application users rooms currencies. There they are. You do have an ID and quantity. Now it should work. Okay, now it's working. So we wanted to actually pass in here my currency dot currency name. So now I can do a Mac Miller and request, and we can see I can choose pixels. Now this thing needs to be unique for each one of these. So in my search results, I also want to have looks like I'm using a currency ID here. And I really want this to be an application user room currency ID. So this input here needs to be for song search results dot we also want to have a application user room currency, which will be a I application user room currency. Because what you can say here is for your application user room currencies, no, it's your song search results dot application user room currency, singular. Then for each one of these, we want to get out the currency and the name, and then we're going to assign it into here. Like that. We can scrap it down here. Because it can be passed now in my search result dot. So now when I log out and log in, I can do my Miley search. You can say pixels and do 5. Looks like I did 55, and I add it. I look at my create request, and I have a application user room currency as a application user room currency DTO. Nope, that's actually inside of here as a application user room currency DTO. Called a application user room currency, right? Hold on. I'm looking for the word YouTube. You're also putting your quantity wagered in your song search result. So we want to have a quantity wagered in here. The application user room currency DTO. Okay. That means that I'm going to change some errors here. Request dot song search result like this. So now we only have the application room currency. This is going to be my request dot song search result dot quantity wagered. This is an int. And this is request dot song search result dot quantity wagered. You need to get your room. So we have a var application user room is equal to my await read application user room asynchronous of my application user room currency dot room dot ID. So I want to say if this does not equal to null and you want to do this one here, and if my application user room does not equal to null, then we're going to get this and do all this stuff. And here's my quantity wagered. Now you're queuing this thing with your quantity wagered, but it needs to be multiplied by your application user room currency dot quantity weight. So you add it, you remove your song search result dot quantity wagered, save it and read it. Okay. The only thing you have in this one is a read application user room asynchronous, which needs to be application user room currency dot ID, read application user room currency async. Then here we need to get my room is equal to my service.read application user room asynchronous of my application user room currency dot room dot ID, and this one's now going to be there. Okay, we can run it. Hey Doggy204, I went to bed at 4 a.m. When did you start streaming? I started this morning at 7:30, I think. Also on my room component, under here, we should be able to do a add song to queue goes away. We want to get rid of the add to playlist, get player state. And I want to do a Angular CLI automatic button on enter. So I should be able to add a I don't need to worry about this stuff. And we don't need this one anymore. And on my key up.enter, I just want to do my request song. So we'll look at this again. Second, I got a lot of windows open. All right. Good morning, remote. How are you doing? Oh, okay, I didn't have time to watch all your stuff yet, but you're making a web-based application with Angular integration? Yeah, I'm using Angular as the front end, and I'm using ASP.NET as the back end. I have a lot of the videos ready to upload to YouTube. I just need to do it. So here we're going to do this as a Miley again, and we'll request. We can select the pixels. Now, is there a way to do this as a selected? I want to say Angular CLI. It's a drop down, and we want to say auto select first entry. I don't see the difference between many of these. Here we go. Use the index to show the first value as the default. That's exactly what I wanted to do. So we also want to, on my let here, do a I equals index. And then I can do a selected equals I is equal to my 0. No worries. If I knew Angular, I'd help. No HTML if you ever run into something goofy. No worries at all. Let's see, it says that my How do I add the index I? I was doing that in let I equals index. And now we can do a test and request. And I was expecting it to auto-select the first one. Interesting. It's definitely upset at me and not wanting to select the first one. So what it is it's attr.selected. And this is a let again. No. This says I'm doing this exactly right. So that's working. I wish it would let me see my default currencies there. I'll just have it with selected like that. Almost. Still nothing. Hey, morning of fallen hope. On the option element, doesn't the selected attribute have a value of selected and not an index? Morning, morning. I'm using the index though because I only want it as the first one. So no, that doesn't like me. And also, I'm just going to print here my I, just so I can see if this is even working and counting. Yeah, see, it's never counting the index. So why not set the element list then? Doesn't that have the selected attribute? It's because it's being auto-generated by this loop. So I want to do Angular CLI index ng4 increment. In Angular 5.6, it says I do this. Oh. You have two indices for each one of my search results, and then we want this to be my P. And I want to do this as a P. Check that again. The element select right before your loop, what about it? See, it's still not incrementing. So it says that I should do this as an index as I. And then here we want to do a P plus 1. Try it again. One. Now it's just only giving me 1. The element select right before the loop. Oh, you're saying it goes here? Not in the option. And you're saying to put it here. Selected equals P equals 0. Okay, so you're saying to do this. Selected index equals 0. really unhappy with me still. On the first element of the options group, it would look like this. Yeah, but it's not working. That's the problem. It's not setting it. Singular CLI set default value, drop down box. You have a typo, he says, in here. Selected index needs to be up on the select. And we'll put one here called selected equals selected. No, that didn't take either. In the option element. Like that. No, that one didn't take either. No. So that's a little bit of a bummer, but we can live with it. What are you making? I'm working on a music request app at the moment. Hey, Angry and 13, welcome to the channel. But I can't get this thing to default on my select. Which is a little annoying, but that's okay. So now if I was to type in here like Mac Miller self-care, we can do that for 50 pixels and I'll add it. I was expecting that to fire on the back end, but it didn't. So when we look at the adding song to queue, I want to do an alert test 1, and then I want to do an alert for test 2, and then I want to do a console.log of my request. I don't have that command working at the moment. Test 1, test 2. It fired here. I got my application user ID, my select song search results with a application user room currency. So I got my full object in there. But my room currency ID was null. If I look at my search result here, I do have an application user currency here. Because I'm attaching this whole value here. So I just want to do this for the ID. On my search result. Like that. So then, over here, this is just going to be an ID. Right? Like that. Let's rerun it. Take a look, says Peter. Yeah, I know that this is what I want it to look like, but the problem is that in Angular, this is done with an ng4, and I have to tell it to use it with the index. Give it another run here. We'll add it. Test 1. Cannot read property ID of undefined in add song to queue. like that. Oh, no, don't be sorry at all, man. I appreciate the help. Test 1, test 2, and it looks like I added it here. If I look at my song create request, I have a song search result which has no length attached to it, but everything else is there. So that's good. So the problem is when I'm doing my search in my YouTube search light here, this is happening in my room component. We have a request search YouTube, which does a request search YouTube, which should do a request search YouTube, which invokes the light one. Which never sets the length. And if I looked at the queue, because in playlists, we should be doing this right here where we're getting our songs in playlist. We're requesting our playlist here with all of the different songs. The playlist component has this app song request. Where you have a save song playlist, which is in create song playlist. In your other hub. And when we're doing this, I have my parse seconds. So when I'm searching here, I don't get it, but when I add the song to the queue, if your song is equal to null, then right here, we're going to create it by parsing all this stuff out, passing in my request.video ID, and then the time, and then we're creating the song here. Like that. Hey John Doe, I don't have that game running at the moment, but we do have this other game we can get going. I've had my fair share of hair pull moments when coding. Sometimes I overlook the simple things, and the second pair of eyes always helps. Different frame message syntax. Yep, no worries. You're not rude at all. Not even a little bit, Peter. I appreciate it. Oops. Let me get the game running here. more try here. Okay. So that should be resolved now. And if I add a song in here now called Happy, Happy, Joy, just something new, and I request it, and I put 50, and I assign it, and I say test 1 and test 2, should create this song request. And there it is with the correct length. Okay, next up to fix is this queue. So if I look at the shared queue under HTML, the first thing I notice is that I have this additional character. The second thing I notice is when I look at my room component, we're going to add this stuff here. And I'm storing that in application user room currency ID. Same thing with the currencies wagered, right? Like that. So in this one where I'm adding this song queued, I want to add song queued.quantity wagered, right? Weighted value. That's not right. Because I'm in the queue component and I'm adding this amount. And it's going to be placed on the search result. And if I look at song queued, it has a song, application, user, room, and a weighted value. So that means that I need to have a application, user, room, currency ID called a string, and a quantity wagered, which is a number. So this is a song queued application room currency user ID for it. And then for each one of my currencies, we're going to paste in this ID into the song queued. And this needs to be song queued as well. Okay. Get your votes in, guys. Nicely done there, Peter. Have you played this yet, Peter, or is this the first time for you? Test 1, test 2. There it is, added to the map. That's good. We can see we can add boost here. I'll say like 50 pixels and I'll add it. I don't understand what is wrong here. So it looks like I can remove this one. Maybe. Equals your song queue dot application user room currency ID of the first one. Okay. I add it in. So it's when we click on the add song to queue. Right here. We'll add this in for 50, like that. And there it is. Now when I do my wager, I'm going to do here a alert test 1 and then a console.log of my application user room currency. And then here an alert for test 2. And then an alert for test 3. So we'll search for something. Add it in here. There it is. We can go ahead and say we want 50 pixels and I'll do a boost and I'll click it. Test 1 worked, test 2 worked, test 3 worked. If I look at my quantity, that works. I have a currency. I have an application user room. So this should have run the wager quantity song queued. And if I look at this, it should have a song queued application user room currency, and a quantity. So we'll try it again. Okay, it fired here. We're going to try to wager this request. So we first get out my currency, which is none because my application user room currency this is just an ID. So we'll try it again. So that's good. It looks like that it worked. And it updated. So if I did a -50, that also worked and updated. Now let's say that I didn't put any in there and I just did 15 and I add it. That's not going to fire. That's good. The next thing is when I do a wager. If my math dot absolute value of my currency is greater than my request dot currency, like that, then we're going to go ahead and do all this stuff. Add in my weighted value and my transaction. I'm never subtracting it here. We also need to have a application user room currency dot quantity minus equals my math dot absolute value of my request dot quantity, and then a context dot entry of my application user room currency dot state is equal to modified. Guys, got to get your votes in. Okay. So now that that's done, the next thing is we need to display my currency. So if I look at my room component, I should have a number of these different currencies here. And in my HTML at the top, we're going to do a div ng4 equals, and it's going to be let application user room currency of application user room currencies, like that. And in this thing, I just want to have my application user room currency dot currency name. What a great word that we just got there. Hooray. And then I also want to get my quantity. And now you can see it updates, shows me my exact number of pixels when I join the channel. And I need to also add in here this currency subscription. So if I look at my service here for where we do my room received here, I need to broadcast from my room hub. Is it room hub or is it my hub service? We need to broadcast over a well, it's going to be whenever we get this pong. So when I look at the back end, when I fire this event up here, I'm firing my receive application user room currency, which needs to be in here. And we need to add in here we're going to make this a seize. No, we'll just do just one. And it's going to be a currency application user room currency is a I application user room currency. And all I want to do is I want to have an event here called a application user room currency received. I'm going to pass in this object. We'll add that one up here as a I application user room currency. And then I need to add it down here as a get application user room currency, which is a observable of an I application user room currency. And it's just going to be returned this dot application user room currency as observable. So in my rooms component, when I have a application user room currency subscription, then it's going to be a this dot application user room subscription is equal to this dot room hub dot get application user room currency dot subscribe, which is called my application user room currency as a, it doesn't matter what the object is because it's already being defined. And then what I want to do here is set the correct currency here. So we want to do a application user room currencies dot splice so hold on, I want to remove TypeScript remove item from array. And in this one, you want to do a this dot application users room currencies dot index of, and we want to do it with this currency. So I'm going to say var original currency equals this dot application user rooms dot filter x, which is my x dot id is equal to my application user room currency dot id from the first one. And then I want to say if my original currency does not equal to null, does not equal undefined, and my original currency does not equal to null, then I can splice in this one of my index of that. For 1. And I'm going to put this as a index of. So now I've removed it, and now I want to do this dot application user rooms currencies. Why don't you just do this? Just like that. That should do it. Okay, that looks pretty good. We're going to rerun the front end now. So we'll log out and log back in. This will be a test. We'll add a pixels here for 50 and add it. There it is. I'm expecting to see this thing update. 2035. $1990, so that was interesting. Waiting for it to update a second time. I think it takes 30 seconds. There, 1995. So that's working right. So it was my initial, when I joined the page, that was off. If I look at my rooms, this one shouldn't be online. So if I look at rooms, I'm requesting rooms from the hub. Just here. And now I should be able to do a request rooms, which we're reading all the rooms. I only want to get the ones where it's online and it's public. So in my ping pool, when I'm pinging all of these applications here, I'm removing them if they're old. And now what I want to do is I want to get my var rooms equals await my context dot rooms dot include the s dot connections because room should have a is online. So I'm going to change this function a little bit. I wanted to do a var rooms equals await my context dot rooms dot where my s dot is active. Dot to list asynchronous. And now I want to do for each var room and rooms, I want to get a var application user room equals await context dot application users room dot where my s dot room id is equal to room dot id and s dot active. And that's going to be a to list asynchronous. Now I want to do for each application user room and application user room dot like that. Then I want to get my connections. Dot where my s dot application user room ID is equal to my application user room dot ID and where they are active. So now for each one of the connections in that room, we're going to try to send the ping. Okay, so we're going to do that, and then after each one of those, I want to say this is going to be called owner room connections. It's going to be equal to your application users rooms connections where my s dot application user room ID is equal to my application user ID and s dot is online I'm going to include the application user room and my s dot active is owner. Because we don't know if this is ever online. And here. And then also in here. And then also in here. Like that. And now I want to say if my owner room connections dot count is less than or equal to 0, then we're going to do my application user room So you need to do this after we've done this for every user. We check it. And then here we're going to do my owner room connections. Because right now you're in this room. So in here I want to say var is room online equals false. You will say it's true. So then you're going to get each one of your connections. And you're going to remove it, otherwise you'll send your ping. And then after you've done that, you want to get your application user rooms. And you want to do this where my ID is equal to my room ID is equal to my room.id, and it's the owner and it's active. So this is going to be called the owner room. And so now if my owner rooms, we'll say that with an S, does not .count is greater than 0, then we need to get our connections, which is var owner rooms connections equals await my context.applications users connections dot where my, and then this is a for each var owner room and owner rooms where the s.application user room ID is equal to owner room dot ID and s dot active and s dot is online doesn't exist anymore. And this is going to be a to-list asynchronous. So we're going to do a if there are any asynchronous of this, then we can say if there are not any like this, then we can say is room online equals false. And then down here we can say room.is room online is equal to is room online. Like that. We'll give it another run. What you working on, says Marco NL. Right now I'm making it so that my ping service is making sure that rooms are actively removed. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. This is fine. This is fine. This is good as well. And here too. Once again, a few more. We can get rid of this. Seems like I want to go back on that, huh? So if I open this back up, and if I look at my back end here, Chat Hub looks fine. We want to discard this hunk. Discard this hunk. Discard this hunk. Discard this hunk. And discard this hunk. Same thing here and here. That's good. That's fine. We'll discard this hunk and this hunk and this one. That's fine. That's fine. That's all fine. That's fine. That's fine. Get rid of this one. Get rid of this one. Get rid of this one. That one's okay. That one's okay. Get rid of this one. And that's it. So when I look back in here, we should be back to having these connected. Which means that in my OpenDJ radio service, when we're doing this wager, sorry, it's in my polling event. When we're doing this, I'm getting all of my owner rooms. Here I want to get all my connections and where it is online. And we'll rebuild. Looks good. We'll go ahead and run it. Go ahead and test this end. We log out, we'll log in. We got our correct number. Well, we get our pixels, although I don't think it's the right count. Wait for it to update. Oh no, it's at the right count. We look at rooms, and now we only have this one room online, which is perfect. So I'm pretty happy so far with how things are going. I'm going to request something like Rockstar. And then I can say that it's worth 50 and pixels, and I'll update it. And it added it, but it didn't update my currency here. So when I wagered that, in Room Hub, we're doing this receive songs queued, and then I also want to do the on currency poll event here, where we can do this and send it to the client. Which is my context.connection ID, right? Because it's actually going back to the caller. And I want to send a var application user room currency is equal to await my service.read application user room currency from a application user room ID, and then a currency ID, which is you have application user room currency as a DTO here. So you could just do that as the ID. Like that. Run it again. Log out, log in. So here's Pixels. Needs to make sure that that updates. And here we could do another Mac Miller song called Dang. And I'll add in 50. And I'll add it. And it should have updated this. Now this is going to drop down to like 1100 the next time it counts, probably. It did. So when I got my currency here, it's like it never updated it. Because when you do the request song, you also want to do this. Yeah. Try it again. And here we can do a Miley search for a 50 pixels, add it. Santa Baby here with 50. It's at 615 and it added and updated to 519. Now if I added this and I did a minus 45 on this and I add and remove the boost, it should update there to be a lower number. I'd like to see this at 520. Which is what it's at, and now it's updating correctly. And now if I was to look at this one and add 500 onto it, that pushed this one up to the top of the list. So we're moving along pretty well. We still need to have this remove song from, and then is this working? Let me put a password in just a second. Okay, back with you. Now I'm in here as a different user, so when I log in here and look at rooms, I see both rooms are available now. So I can join it. It'll join, and there it is. We're synced up. So we have our wagering system. We need to have some logic in here, which is if a song goes negative, remove it from the queue. We need to have a message service, which needs to say like not enough currency, need to choose a currency. We need to have something in here for skip a song, remove a song from the queue. Like that. And if I was to do this here again as another test, we can see that, good, SignalR is working as well. Okay. So that's good. I added the currency ticker. And I should be able to add another currency in here. And I'm going to say one called Schmeckles. And I'll say it's worth 5, and we get one every 15 seconds. And now when I go to my room, I have 2 currencies, and we should see them start to go up. Or I thought it would go up. I wonder what's going on here. I'm waiting for this thing to tick up on my currency here. It should be 1 every 15 seconds. Okay, so this time my connections are going to be, my currencies are 2. One called pixels. The other one called pixels. And this one is another one for my currencies, and this one are I should only have one, and it's called pixels. So when I look in my polling service, I should be doing this for each one of my different timestamps. So my currency in this case is pixels. We have the 2 here. My timestamp last updated on this one. That's good. My timestamp last updated on this one. Okay, and then we're going to get my application users room currencies, which is here. We're going to get my currency, which is good. We're going to get my timestamp last update. We get my application users online in the rooms, which is 1. Then we get my application user room currency. We don't have that one, so we add it. And then we do my quantity add, where my currency value is 1. My state, my transaction, I add it, and then I save it. Now it seems like it failed on the save, right? Wait for the poll. Okay, my exception here says expected to affect 1 row but affected 0 rows. So how is it not affecting that? I'm very confused as to how this is failing. So here we can just do this. Application user rooms are equal to my this is applications users rooms where my room ID is equal to room.id and it's active. And we want to do this as a to-list asynchronous. And for each one of the different rooms, if it's not null, then we want to do the currency here. If it's null, we add it. And then in this one, we want to do a, oh wait, my context.save changes asynchronous. Here you're adding in your transaction. And I'm going to say var entity equals await my context dot application users room currencies dot first or default asynchronous s, where my application user ID is equal to application user room currency dot ID. If my entity does not equal to null, then we want to do this. Add it. Add the transaction and save it. So let's see what happens here when we run this again. Okay, we got this one here, which are schmeckles. Okay, it looked like that it's writing now. There's just a little bit of a weirdness there, but now it's writing okay. And we can see that we are in fact ticking upwards. So if I log out and log in, there's it is, and everything is working. If I look at rooms, we can see that both rooms are currently online. Which is not actually correct, because we want to look at my currency pool. I'm going to say my like that. So we're going to do this as a for each var currency in currencies. and your currency VM is this. And we can get rid of this one and just bring this down. Okay. I think we're good to go. Run it one more time. Oh, I wanted to change that in my ping pole here. We can get rid of this. And we could say that it's 3 minutes. Okay, everything's connected. I look at rooms. Good, now there's only one room online. Okay, so we're in pretty good shape now. So let's see here. We got a couple of things here that we want to work on. We want to be able to add songs to our playlist from the search. We need to add in roles for the users. We need to add in the skip song button. It looks like that we are now supporting multiple currencies. We want to make sure that we have our waiting for song requests needs to be working. If the song goes negative, we need to move it from the queue. We need to have a messenger service. So just a few things left to do on our functionality for our app, which lines us up for tomorrow to do our styling. So thanks for staying with me. I'll be right back in 12 minutes. Enjoy the break. When we come back, we're going to continue to work on this app. If you have any questions, make sure you put them into the chat. This is a great time. And also make sure you check us out at discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com. See you guys in just 12 minutes.